Mm-hmm. Mm. Hello, hello. Bienvenidos. Welcome to Letterform Lectures, everybody. Online edition. As everybody's rolling in, just do us a favor, please, and drop where you're coming from in the chat. And also, it's helpful if you let us know what brought you here today. How did you find out about it, or why you're interested in this lecture? So please put where you're coming from and why you're interested in hearing about Muk's journey. Okay, a few more people coming. Just hang on for a minute and drop where you're coming from in the chat. Okay. All right, folks. My name's Grendel. I'm education director at Letterform Archive. And like I said, we have an international audience today. So let us know where you're coming from in the chat. And I want to first give a big shout out to Skilla Zaccolini. Skilla is the brains and the brawn behind this lecture series. So thank you, Skilla. Letterform Archive is the home of Type West, which is our School of Type Design. And we have a whole bunch of great lectures and public workshops for you coming up this year. And I'll tell you about a few of those in just a second. But before we get rolling, here is a link to the Type West class of 2022's website, showcasing all their glorious new typefaces. And Skilla will drop that in the chat for us. So check them out today. So here's some events that are coming up that we want to tell you about. First of all, this Thursday, please join us either online or in person for this hybrid salon with scholar Bethany Qualls, as she highlights how women's contributions in the metal type era have mostly been erased or ignored. We have a couple workshops coming up later on this year. In the summer, we have first Putting Pencil to Pixel with Angie Che. Unlock the power of the iPad to create dynamic, polished, and punchy lettering. Up your lettering game with Angie Che. This is going to sell out, so sign up now. Then we have our ever popular Intro to Modern Type Design. It's returning this summer, led by the enthusiastic veteran of type designer Fer Cossi. This is a great introduction to the world of type design, and beginners are welcome. So sign up now. And finally, there are just a few more weeks left to see our in-person exhibition Strike Through. That ends on April 16th. And in April, we'll have 2 more salons coming up with artists featured in the show. So go to letarc.org/events for more information on that. And better yet, to help keep great lectures like this one today going, go to letarc.org/join and become a member today. And finally, be sure to follow us on Instagram to stay on top of upcoming events and programs. Here's our 2 Instagram handles. Once again, if you just joined, please drop where you're coming from in the chat, and also let us know what brought you here today. Okay, welcome to Letterform Lectures 2023. Letterform Lectures are co-presented by the Letterform Archive and the SFPL Book Arts and Special Collections. And we are very grateful to Adobe for generously sponsoring the video recording of this lecture series. You can view all Letterform lectures online soon after they happen, thanks to Adobe. Just check our website, letterformarchive.org. Letterform Archive, by the way, is a nonprofit institution housing over 100,000 works of graphic design history. Come by and visit us sometime and let us show you what we mean by radical accessibility. Okay, here we come to the main event. Since 2018, Muk Monsalve has been hosting and curating type walks around Buenos Aires with her partner, Lucía Soto. This project, called Letra Capital, allows them to highlight and share the love they feel while walking around their city. And they also created a very cool scarf project based around these walks, which employs 2 custom typefaces that were inspired by the architectural details of Buenos Aires. So without further ado, let's welcome Muk Monsalve. Bienvenida, Muk.
Hola, hi, hello everybody. Thank you, Grendel.
Okay. You're on, Muk.
Okay, I will share in a bit. Let me, because I have the full screen thing, so I have to share and then put the full screen. So, okay. No. Yeah. 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 Okay, so
We're not quite there yet, Muk.
No, we are getting there.
Perfect.
Okay, so hello everybody again. I'm Muki. I'm from Buenos Aires. I'm a type designer and also I'm a graphic designer. And as Grendel said, I'm going to talk about a little bit of my inspiration and obsessions that have been lately Buenos Aires letters and architectural details. So this is one of the most famous postcards of Buenos Aires, or maybe this one that maybe has gone over the whole world lately because we won the World Championship, like the football World Championship. But for me, Buenos Aires is like this kind of thing, white with this reddish sky and all these walls that surround it that are called medianeras. So we're going to go into a journey, as Grendel said. I host type walks in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, with my partner Luchi since 2018. And what we do is we actually walk through the city and see some landmarks with a lot of people and chat about it and see things and just register that, because I'm also kind of a collector. So I think that if you register things, they won't disappear, you know, like they won't just go away. So as Grendel also said, that was the inspiration for making a type collection inspired by Buenos Aires, which are not revivals at all, but look into some architectural details and behaviors of the things that I see when I walk through my city. So the 2 typefaces that are currently in this collection, there are going to be more, are Arrabal and Ciudadela. So I'm going to take you through a journey through some of the letters that inspired these 2 type designs. We are going to go through these neighborhoods and landmarks. The first one that I'm going to take you to visit, it's one that it's not really related to the shapes of the typefaces that I designed, but it's quite interesting because it's an Art Nouveau building, which has these amazing plaster letters on top, which are made, you know, like sculpted, and they seem to be like kind of, I'm sorry, English is not my first language, so please be patient with me, something like that. So here what you see, it's like closed, you know, like they are like that, like really sculptural. So I wanted to share that. And also all these Art Nouveau details go around the building in all the details, you know, like not only in the letters that are found in the heading on top. The second building that I'm going to take you to, it's in another neighborhood. It's in Montserrat. It's in a very famous avenue called Avenida de Mayo in Buenos Aires. It's a really clean building made by this architect, Broggi. And it's almost a square size building, so it's really huge. But in the middle of it, we have these letters that are actually mosaic and also gilded on top. There are these kind of serifs, really geometric or something really weird, you know, like the shapes. Those things I took for Arrabal a lot. Also, the A is flipped, so you know those things that you see on the street that you cannot see anywhere else. It's really high, and most of the buildings in Buenos Aires are somewhat in a critical state. So I also want to do this to, you know, share that, and people may be working on them and restoring them. So this is the sign, which is very, very beautiful. Most of the materials and things made to or needed to build this building were brought from Europe, from Italy in this case. The other building that I'm going to show you next, it's called Palacio Barolo, and it's right behind La Inmobiliaria, which is a very, very famous building in Argentina. There's a ton of books and things. There's this book called Palacio Barolo, which I recommend a lot, which really goes through this building. This building was made by a commercial entrepreneur called Barolo, and he wanted to make an ode for Dante's Alighieri opera. Yeah, so each oh my God. So each part of the building goes through the hell and then the sky, you know, it goes through all the stages of death. But, and also in the building, you can find all these inscriptions, which are engraved also, that are in Latin. Here it says something like, so you do not have nesting birds, something like that, which mostly they are things taken from the Dante comedies opera, or things that Barolo wrote himself. And here he says, it says something like he pulls his every whim, something like that. Also, there are a lot of Masonic influences and letters found, you know, around the building, and also a lot of intricate work, iron work around the building. I'm going to share just a few things because it's huge. So you can go and check it out. Also, when I was building Arrabal, I was thinking a lot about identity, and I was thinking a lot about these monumental letters, which there are not a lot of monumental letters in Buenos Aires. There are many buildings, but not really, you know, huge letters. So for me, these kinds of letters, you know, the really huge ones, the classic serifs ones, are found in these kind of campuses. This is one of the University of Buenos Aires campuses, which it's a Doric style, you know, because of all the columns there over there. And all the letters are also engraved and are really huge, you know, and these have really classical proportions. This is another campus of University of Buenos Aires, which is the economic science campus, which is near another one that I'm going to show in a little bit. Also letters, again, serif, classic, really good proportions. But here, this is a building that was built in the 50s, in the 1950s, which is the medicine campus where people that want to become doctors go to study. And here, I think the engraving, it's different, you know, from the other ones. Also, the letters are much smaller, and you can see also that the style of the letters are, you know, connected to the 50s. They're ultra different from the ones that I showed before. But again, you know, they're engraved and they have a little bit of serifs over there, a little bit of serif. And the style goes through all these campuses that are, you know, part of the medical university. Another stop that I planned as this kind of going through the inspirations that led me to build Arrabal. It's this coffee shop. There is this term in Argentina, which is called confiteria, which I don't really find a translation, but it's like a tea place, something like that. This tea place was very, very popular in the beginning of the century. And it's a really different building, has a lot more of presence and identity. A little bit English, a little bit French, I don't know, but these letters, that are metal letters, of course, they are some kind of wood typey kind of way, and have all these details that really, really also made me think about all these terminals and connections and what happens, if maybe the top part and the other parts of the letters are different. They have a lot of decorative styles. They're a little bit eccentric for me. This landmark is really important for us. It's our opera house. It's a really huge building in the middle of the city, where operas and all kinds of theater events happen and occur. And it took like 50 years to build, so it took a long time. And a lot of architects worked on this. It has a lot of work, not only, it doesn't have a lot of letters, like this building doesn't have a lot of letters, but it does have a lot of influences from different styles, French, Italian. It's a little bit eclectic, but I chose it because I really like all the ironwork that it has, but also has this monogram on the lights that are outside the building that also relate a lot to the details that I ended up adding to Arrabal. You can actually see that here if you see the S that I have here in banks, for example, and the T here. There are a lot of things that start to connect and relate. But I didn't do a revival. I will talk about that in a bit. Other things that I looked at when I was building these typefaces were, banks, the fronts of the banks, here in Argentina, most of the banks have engraved on top the name, if they are national banks or if they are banks of the province or wherever they come from. But for me, all these signs shared something in common, that, letters are ultra narrow, and of course, sometimes they have serifs, but not really, really huge serifs, but they are there. So I started seeing all these things and taking them into account. Another inspiration that we usually have in our type walks, and usually when we have a type walk, we do a stop in a garage because we love them. Most of the garages that I'm showing here are from 1900 to 1950, something like that. They're really different. Here you can see that it's painted, for example, and the other ones are engraved. And also they all have like this kind of tongi, which is really an Art Nouveau feature or something like that. But for me, it's really interesting, the last one, because it's like a sans serif version of this one. So it's like my personal mini collection. But actually, when I was building Arrabal, I was looking at how light started to get into all these engraved signs, because I was thinking about building a typeface that had to identify with what I thought about of Buenos Aires. So I was thinking about how the light, started to draw. And here, for example, in this kind of serif that it's in the terminal of the A, you can see that it has like a tiny curve inside. So those kind of things really I took into account and I wanted to incorporate into my design. Another thing that I looked at a lot, because I was looking at monumental signs and engraved signs, because I was looking at something really classical or regal. I don't know. I wanted something that said, we are a city, something like that. So I looked a lot at urban plates. You can find them all over city center. Some of them are done by machines. Some of them are done by people. They are engraved. And they have also this kind of interesting thing that what I showed you before with the light, you can see here that the paint started to go away. So you can see little bits of traces inside the shapes that also, draw them again. So for me, these kinds of things are the things that I took into account. And of course, a high contrast I was looking for. So after looking at all this, mostly the things that I showed in the end, I started to build this typeface, which is called Arrabal, which I first built for our type walks, like with every type walk, we have like this tiny magazine that we give with information. So I built the typeface for this piece, but the typeface kept growing because, I just needed one weight. And it became a serious project with a lot of different, sizes and styles, and So after looking at all that and thinking about my typeface before I developed all those styles, I wanted to make a list. I wanted to make a list of the parameters that I thought I wanted in my design. So I said I wanted something regal. Of course, I wanted something condensed. I wanted something a little bit eccentric. I wanted serif letters. And when you see letters from a distance, you start to see letters touching. So I wanted letters to touch more. I wanted a wavy baseline, and of course, a high contrast. So all these things that I saw on the street, in really huge parts of the street, like these monumental signs, I could also find in really small parts of the city, like the house plates numbers, for example. Or, as I said before, on the urban plates, when I looked at the wavy baseline that I wanted for my typeface, then I saw it, on this engraving. So I wanted that. Of course, I wanted something condensed because whenever I saw, this is our National Bank of Argentina. So whenever I saw a sign of this bank, I thought, well, these letters are so weird and so narrow, and I need to tell that in my typeface. So for me, inspiration needs to be explored. So you explore it, going, on type walks and also researching and also drawing. You have to understand what inspires you and where that comes from. So when I started building Ciudadela, which is this typeface that I will show in a bit, I started thinking about letters that I found on this confiteria, which is open now. Again, it was closed for 5-6 years. It's a coffee tea shop. You can come and you can visit. It's very, very nice. And also in the front, you have all these letters, which are also, kind of wood typey letters that actually informed a lot of my design. If you look at the A, it's kind of where my mind was going when I started making Ciudadela. And this is the La Ideal from inside, which is beautiful. Also, they have all this decoration with these flower leaves. It's very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Also, all the materials were brought from Europe, and also everything was done by hand. And another spot that we're going to visit right now, it's called Policlínico Bancario. which is a building that was actually built for a hospital, a pediatric hospital, and then it was given to the bankers. What really interested me about this building is not that much the letters that I found on the entrance of the building, which are these ones, which are really weird and nice, and they are made of metal, you know, like cut metal. But I started to look at, you know, the fences and all the ironwork that I could find on gates, and that I could find on windows, and that I can find on the fences rails. So what really interested me when I was building Ciudadela was the behavior of the fence, the behavior of that. I was thinking, like, if a fence could write, how would it write? You know, like, because there is a lot of similarities between a fence and type, you know, for me, in my imagination at that time. So I started thinking about something that could write like a fence, you know. So I started researching fences all around Buenos Aires. If you go to our historic center, you will find these ones that are the first one on the left, which are the really colonial ones, which had no decorations. And as time started to go by, these in the middle are more colonial, then curls started to appear, then we have more Baroque, you know, like here styles. And then we have Art Deco, Art Nouveau, and just curly things that you can find everywhere. But I started to, you know, classify them and try to see them and understand how they behave. Because for me, when I saw this, I was actually trying to understand, if these had to write, how would I make it right? You know, right. No right from wrong, but right letters. This is called a fan light, which is like a window that has the shape of a fan, which I find adorable. There are a lot of them in the city center. A lot of them. Most of our fences are also brought from Europe, or they were worked here by European immigrants, because we had a lot of immigration waves, you know, during the early stages of the building of the city. Also, there is a well in my city, in the city center, which there were plenty when we were in colonial times, but none of them are left. And also, this situation, it's like really common here in Buenos Aires. Like, for me, when I see this, I see like small systems, you know, like I see something like the door, and then has to adapt for the garage door. So you have like all these things, modules that have to adapt to different shapes. So for me, that's kind of also like a type design thing, right? Like, okay, so I have a system, and they have to adapt, and they have to be related, but not the same. And also, I found this book. I found a couple of books about this from this author, Vicente Nadal Mora, which I really recommend if you like fences. He took the time and the effort to go around Buenos Aires. This book was printed in the 1940s. 1940s. So there weren't, like, taking pictures was still really expensive. So he took the time to go classify all these balconies, brackets, fences, and he added the address. He added the address from where he drew it. He made a compilation, and he chose, you know, some of the motifs or designs that he thought were mostly valuable, or he also chose some landmarks. And he put, you know, the addresses. So I went to all the addresses that are listed in the book. There are more like 200 illustrations that are listed there. And I found I found some of them. I found only 1% of them. This is one of the ones that I found, which is this one here. You can see that it's still standing and it's still, you know, really well preserved. I found like 1% of those 200 illustrations that are still here. So I made a little, how do you call it? Type walk? No. Yeah, I made a little walk, fence walk, to add to our type walks. So all these historical fences that are mostly colonial and a little bit later too, like up to 1950s, something like that. I found them and they are listed here because, yeah, not many of them are still standing because, yeah, Buenos Aires, it's being demolished at a really, really high rate. So, yeah, it's not good. But again, going to something a little bit more happier, what I was aiming for or what I was looking for, it's something that could write like a fence, something like that. I also made a list of parameters, I call them, or it could be called whatever you want, but I wanted to have them close to me or near me because I wanted to understand what I wanted from the design, you know? So, of course, the shapes would be informed by curls and spikes, but I didn't want just that. I wanted something dense. I wanted something really obscure when it wrote, that it behaved like a fence. Of course, the letters would touch. Arrabal and Ciudadela were developed together. So some of the things, you know, connect to each other. And of course, I wanted something even narrower than the thing that I had before. So that's how Ciudadela came to exist as a typeface. Ciudadela exists in 3 states or styles. This is the closed one, which for me it's one of the closest to the fences. This is the open style, which of course, you know, it's different that way. It's not closed at all. And also I have a 3rd style that it's informed by how ornamented the iron is or how the iron works, which is still in development. And I think I will publish this by the end of the year. Ciudadela, it's published. It's published in future fonts. And I will release the volume 2, which is the closed style, like next week or something like that, because I have it, yeah, ready to go. But this one is not ready finished. I don't know how it's going to be or how is it going to look. I'm still studying it, researching it, and, you know, trying to understand where I want it to go, because each time I add another layer of information to this typeface, then what happens is that it loses a little bit more legibility each time. So we end up with these gorgeous textures. For me, you know, I like to build things that can easily become texture. I have a really, really strong relationship to materials and how tools work. So all these textures and all these shapes I took to another project, and I was telling why I was not making a revival. I didn't make a revival with any of my typefaces because I didn't think that all the letters that I showed here are actually a representation of what I think Buenos Aires is. And for me, identity, it's really important as a concept for research, as a concept for thinking about who you are, where you come from. And the same happens for me with type. So it would be really innocent to believe that any of those letters on them, you know, on themselves are from Buenos Aires per se. So I didn't want to make a revival. I wanted to do something that was inspired by all the things that I saw when I walked through the city, what I experience. And I started to see that both typefaces work really good together. So that's how my scarves and cover-ups collection, which I have with my partner Lucy, the one that Rendell mentioned in the beginning. With her, I make the type walks, and I also have this project, which is called Musa del Asfalto, which are these scarves and cover-ups that are actually related to our type walks. So in our scarves, you will find our city, yeah? You will find journeys we make of our city. So we started to design this collection in 2020 when it was the pandemic and we couldn't go out. So we started to think about making this into a collection, because in the beginning we wanted to make a scarf as a souvenir for the type walks, but yeah, we had a lot of time, so we started building like this scarf. That was the first one, which is actually a map of Buenos Aires. If you look at it, it has north, south, and all of information that we found relevant to share about some neighborhoods or some points that we wanted to actually have on our body, which is actually really nice. So these are my scarves. And this is how the typeface looks when you have it printed on silk. When we were building this scarf, we were thinking also about maps. So the time that I connected that both typefaces could be part of one collection or be part of one graphic production was when I started looking at maps, because I thought, okay, so I have something super ornamental and then I have something high contrast, a little bit more legible, so maybe they can work together. And we started using them in our scarves, which are no longer a souvenir of our type walks, but are a full collection and work on itself. We have a lot of different sizes and models that you can look at in our web. Also, we were in charge of everything from art direction to everything, design, production, and styling. We did everything ourselves. We worked here with our friend Natalia Danao. She made all the pictures. When we made this photo shoot, we were just coming out of the pandemic. So the idea of having something that was on top of our faces and on our heads was for us really natural at the moment. So that's why we started making these kinds of photographs and pictures. Because yeah, we were thinking about, how to wear a scarf when we were going out of the pandemic. They are from silk and they are made from chiffon. And in here, for example, this scarf, it's called 100 Neighborhoods. We have like this urban myth in Buenos Aires, like we have 100 neighborhoods, which it's actually not true. We have less than that. Also, we have some neighborhoods that are not official, some official neighborhoods and not some official neighborhoods. In this scarf, you will find all the neighborhoods of Buenos Aires that are designed like a grid, like a city grid. And this is how it looks. So we made a collection inspired in Buenos Aires, which is called Letra Capital. And we also made another collection, a capsule, a small capsule, which is called Madre Patria, which is actually inspired by Argentina. And all that we have over there are things that are related to our country and not only to the city. So you will find, for example, the names of our capital cities of each province. Okay, so that's everything that I have today. I went a little bit, how can I say? I hurried up a little bit. Sorry, Grendel. I don't know if Grendel is here. So this is all that I have to show you today. If you have any questions on anything, I have more things to show, but yeah, that's me. Hey, Grendel. I'm
Gracias,
sorry, I was
Muk.
too fast. I was too.
No te preocupes.
I'm sorry.
Okay, everybody, we can open the floor now for questions for Muk. And you can ask your questions in Spanish too if you aren't so great with English. She will probably understand.
I will understand.
So, and I will try to transcribe the questions as they're answered. So far we have 2 questions, but we have plenty of time for more. So let's drop them in.
Or maybe if you want, if somebody wants me to show something else or to talk about something that I couldn't talk really deep or in depth, you can tell me. I actually took out some stuff because I thought I wouldn't make it in time. So now I'm like.
Okay, here, let's answer a few questions. And then maybe if you come up with some slides that can relate to the questions, you can share them. That's fine.
Sure.
So first of all, we have a question from Rudiger. Hi, Rudiger. Rudiger asks, can you say something about your typeface, Elmira? It seems related to the textures of the fences.
I can say something about Elmira. I don't know if people know Elmira. Maybe you can Google it. Elmira, I mean, it relates to the texture side of things, and also the way that I relate to materials and the way tools behave. Elmira was my type media graduation project. So it's actually, I don't know, I want to find another word that it's not inspired, but I don't know if there is one, but it actually looks at how the clothing tags, you know, that are found on clothing like this are woven through industrial looms. So all the shapes that I have on my typeface and all the styles that I have were classified looking at different tags. And yeah, when they write, they make these textures. Like I also have like this joke with some friends, like I make typefaces for people to put the eyes like this.
Yeah.
To squint.
You know, that is funny, Muk, because I was squinting to read your type today. That is so true.
I know. So for me, it's also fun. It is actually something that we really take advantage of in this project, in the scarves project, because like at first glance, you don't know that it's something written here, you know, like you don't really know what is happening. Then you start to see something resembling a letter. And then when you look at far away, you can start reading a little bit. So it happens to people and they start to talk about it like, oh, wow, does your scarf say this or say that? So for us, it's really interesting using that as a design feature because it makes people wonder about the information that it's actually on the scarves, you know, like they start to connect and to chat about Buenos Aires and the neighborhoods, because early in the at first glance, they cannot really tell what it says. So it's interesting for us.
That's
So I don't know
actually,
if I answered. Did I answer Rudiger's question? I don't know.
I think so. I mean, I feel like that's a very cool approach, you know, where you see the pattern's intriguing, and then you start to look a little closer and you're like, oh my God, these are letters. What does it say? You know?
Yeah, I'm also really interested about how things work and how can that inform the way that my typeface behaves, not the other way around, you know, like I don't want to make a typeface that looks like something, but I want to understand its behavior. And yeah, that's why I don't say like Elmira is a typeface made for weaving, because it's not made for weaving. Yeah.
But it's inspired by weaving.
Yeah, by the logic that's behind that. So Ciudadela is also inspired by the logic you find on fences.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Let's see. We've got more questions. Ooh, at melgraphics.art asks, were these letters tested for accessibility and readability?
Okay. I mean, I don't know. Okay. So to be honest, I'm not, when I designed Ciudadela, I wasn't really thinking about readability, to be honest, or legibility. Actually, I'm thinking about that, building each style, and each style has so much more information that actually kind of makes the shapes of the letters a little bit disappear, you know, something like that. So for me, a really nice test, I know not everybody can do that, but when we started producing our scarves and our cover-ups, which are actually 2 meters long for a half a meter tall, some of them. So that was a really good test, because I had to print my typefaces really, really huge and look at them in really different scenarios and situations and try to polish them for publication. Because when I made the scarves, most of the letters that are there are not typeface yet, are more lettering, something like that. So for production, I did a lot of changes. So yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Stephen Coles asks, have you been in touch with Teresita Schultz de Carabobo, who has researched the origins of Tuscan lettering styles? And he's got the link here, pampatype.
Okay. No, I don't know her, but sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of Tuscan letters in when I made a selection. There's a bunch of different letters in Buenos Aires, and also if you go to different neighborhoods, you will find different things. I didn't talk about sign painting. I didn't talk about a lot of things, but I wanted to make a compilation about things that are related to the type collection. But yeah, there are a lot of Tuscan letters here.
Wow. Yeah. Now I want to see more. You already shared a lot, and those
I know.
so beautiful. Okay. Ooh, Adriana Garcidueñas asks, what is the next project for Musa del Asfalto?
Well, the next project that we are building, we are actually now into production and design. We are going into production in a month. It's the concept, the theme, it's something that we didn't share with a lot of people, but I will share it now. Yeah. We are going to make a collection inspired by our city buses that are called bondis, like the Australian beach Bondi, but they are called bondis over here. And each bondi has a really different style, has, you know, and they also make a lot of, they go all over the city, and there's also saying here, like, wherever you need to go, a bus will take you. So it's something that we really appreciate and really care for a lot. So we are building a whole collection inspired on our buses and the routes that they make, which are also really popular here. So yeah, a lot of numbers, a lot of colors, because yeah, it has nothing to do with the color palette. The color palette that we used here in Musa, it's also inspired by Buenos Aires. If you think about all the places that I show, most of the color palette, it's also similar to all the places and the landmarks that I showed over here. So our next collection, it's full color, a lot of numbers. I've been drawing. And I don't know.
Wow. When is that coming out? When can we expect to see this?
Yeah, I think like we are going into production next month. So I think like, yeah, like June, they should be here. We also have different shapes that are not the ones that we designed for this collection. We have different shapes of scarves. So it will be fun. It is
So this
fun.
this is another scarf collection. But
It is another scarf
okay.
collection.
Okay.
Yes, of course. Yes, and I'm also developing typefaces for that collection. So yeah, so that's why I started thinking like making a type collection inspired in all these collections that are also talking about Buenos Aires would make a really nice library.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay. I can't wait to see this. So new typefaces too.
Yeah. There are new typefaces and there are new designs.
Awesome. Oh, okay. Speaking of typefaces, Laime Luciosunate, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, asked, how long did it take you to create the typeface families you shared with us today?
Well, Ciudadela, I started in, I think, mid 2020, and I'm finishing it like, yeah, I'm finishing it this year, like the 3 styles that I want to publish. It's really small character set that I have to say that like Ciudadela has a smaller character set than Arrabal. Arrabal is huge. And it's still, I'm looking if I can show how big it is. Well, a lot of type designers here have families that are big as this one. I don't know. For me, it's a lot and it's really big. But it goes through from narrow to ultra extended. Then we have the text styles, which are here in the middle. So this one, is still in production. I mean, I have everything drawn, but I have to make it work. Because they are also variables. So yeah, I think it's like the 2nd year I'm designing this on and off, because they're not the only projects that I'm working on. So yeah, a couple of years each.
Okay.
Yes.
Whew. Yeah. Type design, and you
Type
never
design.
finish, right? You never finish.
And you always start another project.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Reminder, people, please drop your questions in the Q&A, not in the chat, because I'm only looking at the Q&A right now. So please put your questions in the Q&A.
And I'm
Stephen
not
calls.
touching anything. I'm not touching anything because I don't know what.
No worries. I've got the Q&A, Muk. So Stephen calls, asks, tell us more about your type walks. Who attends, and do you still do them regularly?
What? I didn't listen to the.
Stephen calls, asks,
Hello.
tell us more about your lettering walks. Who attends, and do you still do them regularly?
We don't do it regularly as once a month. No, we do it like once or twice a year right now, because we have a lot of things to do, but we have a bunch of different type walks planned because we don't do the whole city at once.
Yeah.
We cannot. So we have different neighborhoods that connect, and we have like 3 different walks through 3-4 different neighborhoods that we usually explore. And also we have other type walks that we do connected with our other friends, like letter, how do you say, like a printer shop. So we end the type walk and then we go to the printer shop. We also have that kind of type walk. So they are like a whole day event, you know, like they last 6-7 hours, and then we go to a workshop. So we don't do it like every month, but it's really special when we do it. And people that attend are really, really different, you know, like many of the people that come to our type walks are not graphic designers or even type designers or lettering artists. Some of them are, but I have to say, like in the bunch, there are always few designers and illustrators and type designers. They usually come a lot of people from the how do you say, like literature, something like that, like writers and, you know, people that read. A lot of them come here, and also a lot of people that are really into the city as a subject, you know, like maybe they want to preserve the city in some way, or they want to know more about something. So yeah, those maybe are like the 2 main characters that appear are type walks. I mean, we have a lot of type designers and everything, but it's not the main
No, I can totally see how like somebody who wanted to learn more about the architecture of Buenos Aires might show up for the talk, for instance.
Yeah, we don't really, I mean, some architects also came, but we don't really talk a lot about architecture because we are not architects. Yeah, a lot of architects came, but architects start to talk about things that they care, that usually we don't. Nobody looks at the letters, so we are like, yeah, okay, so this is a brutalist building, but look at those letters, and nobody's looking at the letters, so it's fun.
Okay. Let's see. Adriana asks, what was the hardest part or the most challenging part of making Ciudadela, typographically speaking? Did the file break at some point? Ha ha ha, it's so gorgeous and you're the best.
It is breaking. I mean, it is breaking. The main challenge, and when I presented Ciudadela for it to be published, I was really dubious because I thought like most of the letters structure resemble each other. Like there is really, I don't know, there's not much difference between a B and an E, for example, uppercase in this typeface. You know, they're really similar. So I was really aware of that and a little bit, you know, like, yeah, I don't know if people will want this because shapes are, you know, too similar. But when I started building this style and this style, of course, they are all made with components. I'm not working manually. But yeah, the project is starting to break because there's a lot of nodes and a lot of vector information. So yeah, I'll have to talk to the developers in a bit. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, same thing happened to me with Elmira. Elmira is also made with components, but it's actually manually retouched, adjusted. So yeah, whenever I export or whenever I make the font, maybe I cannot make it in glyphs, you know, I have to have the file and then do the post-production somewhere else because yeah, the file starts to break.
Oh my. All right. Oh, we got more questions. Thank you, people, for keeping the questions coming. These
Thank
are
you.
all great questions. Catherine asks, did you produce your scarves in Buenos Aires? And
Yes.
was it challenging with supply chain issues?
Yeah, I mean, we make them here, of course. Yeah, we don't produce them in China or anything like that. We don't want that. We want to make it here. I mean, the most difficult thing when you make a piece of clothing, let's say, it's actually the sewing. I mean, the the sewer, the person that's going to sew your scarf or your piece of clothing. So that's the most challenging thing, finding someone that has that knowledge and can work with silk and can work with chiffon. But the chain supply, it's okay. As of now, we have no problems with chiffon supply or silk supply. It's okay.
Awesome. So we can expect some new scarves soon. Woo!
Yes, we are.
Yay. Okay, and hooray for producing things locally, I have to say. Go Mook. Okay, Catherine asks, was it hard to keep the integrity of the letter forms with the chiffon?
No, I mean, we do sublimation. Sublimation?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
Dye sublimation, yeah.
Yeah. So we make we produce them with sublimation, and the place where we produce, they are really professional and they have really exact registry. So as of now, we never had any problems with the definition of the things that we printed. Yeah, they look pretty good.
Woo. Okay.
And I'm a type designer, so they have to look sharp.
That's right. That's right. You're gonna hold your loop up to that scarf.
Yeah, so
give them a hard time if it's out of register.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. No, they are fine. They are totally fine.
Okay, Ignacio Carosoli says, do you have any plans for a book or a publication? Ooh.
No.
No.
Thank you, Ignacio. No, I don't. No. I am focused on finishing typefaces and on making scarves. I mean, I would love to see a book about Buenos Aires letters, because most of them are disappearing. That's why I was so happy when I found that book of Vicente Nadal Mora, that he actually went to every spot and illustrated the fences. And now you have that archive, you have that catalog, that something was there that looked like that. So for me, archives are really important for that, because they preserve memory. So in a way, all the things that I do are to preserve memory, for me, it's really important, and for my partner as well. So we want to talk about our city, but also we want to let people know that a lot of the things that we love are disappearing, and we can talk about that, not in a tragic way, but maybe through a scarf.
Wow. Okay, let's see, what else do we have? We got more. Oh my God, so many questions. Let's see.
Okay.
Leo Pontes says, when did you start creating type? And were you always interested in typography throughout your education?
Yeah, I was always interested in typography during my bachelor's education, because I thought, and I think a lot of people think like me, maybe, let's test this. I think like when you're a chef and you have raw materials like things to make a dish, like food.
Mhm.
For me, for graphic designers, that raw material, it's always type. Like when you are a graphic designer, you have to communicate. Of course, you can communicate non-verbally and not have to write anything. But for me, there's always, this strong bond between graphic design and type design, and typography. Because for me, and I think for a lot of us, like one of the main ingredients when we make a dish is type. So yeah, I always found type really interesting, but more than the linguistic side of the type or maybe what it has to say, I always found the formal thing of type, like the shapes, more interesting, textures. So yeah. And when I started making type, I think it was 2010, something like that. I stopped in the middle and then I came back to design like in 2016, something like that.
So you're saying that the type, I love that analogy, Muk. That's a great analogy, that you look at type as though it were all the ingredients, one of the key ingredients in the dish that you are cooking up, right?
Yeah.
So you only go for organic and locally sourced type.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
also, I don't know, like when I think that it happens to a lot of us now that a lot of cities are so global, but also before, like most of the buildings that I showed, the architects and the designers and the materials, they came from Europe. And also the working hand, that did everything. So I was always really aware of this, like of course, when you start studying, you start wondering, where do these things come from? Do we have something that's ours? Something like that. Being Argentina and a third world country, and what's ours. And once you start, learning more and more about type, you understand that that's kind of a utopia that doesn't really exist, doesn't really happen. I mean, we can discuss it for hours, but for me, it was like, okay, so if there's nothing that's like the national type, maybe we can make all the ones that we want, but maybe taking into account how our cities and our country is looking right now. Like all these different things, like a collage. Like when you walk through the city or different cities in Argentina or in every part of the world, it's everything. It's like a collage. You have a lot of different things from different eras. So I'm trying to be more open to that and incorporate all that into my designs.
Well, so there, I'm afraid I'm ignorant on the history of type design in Argentina.
Yeah.
Is there much, or was the type always brought in from other places?
I mean, there are a lot of books and a lot of people that researches that. I also researched that a long time, for a long time. I didn't find anything that was ours. I mean, you can find the first press and you can find the first things that were pressed that are usually, I think, made by the Jesuitas, if I'm not mistaken, here. So there's a lot of books, a book about the history of type design in Argentina by Furlong. There's a lot of information. But I never found something that I could call ours, like that. So maybe I'm mistaken. I don't know, but I didn't find it. So
right, and you were looking. So
I looked a lot. I mean, we were actually really on trend. Like once we started producing things, like we were really on trend. Like I'm talking about like the 20th century, of course. I'm not talking about when the press came and everything, but once it started commercially, yeah, you had like full catalogs that came also from Europe of type that everybody could use. I mean, they were made specifically for Buenos Aires, as well as they were made for Mexico and other, important cities of Latin America. But again, it's like the European catalogs made for us.
All right, here's the burning question that we've all had on our minds ever since we saw those lovely ironwork balconies and gates and etc.
Sure.
Laura Sarah asks, will you be working with metal workers to make a gate in the Ciudadela typeface style? Please say yes.
Please say yes. I mean, I wish. I mean, I want to, and I know we both want to. Me and my partner, we both want to. Although she doesn't design type, she's also really into materials, and we made a bunch of things together. Like, we are partners, artistic partners. We made a bunch of installations, and we work a lot with materials. So our work, it's pretty out there. So I know that we both want to work with metal. I really don't know, Laura, if I have the time, but I wish I did.
Maybe someday. Don't say no.
I won't say no. I mean, what I did with this typeface that I didn't show here today is I made a lot of engravings. Yeah, I made a lot of lino cuts and wood engravings. So yeah, and I printed a lot of them. That they come with the scarf. So yes, yeah, we make postcards, and then my partner, she's a calligrapher. She calligraphies your name on the postcard, and that goes inside the packaging of the scarf.
Oh my God. And you get all this if you go on a lettering walk. Boy, when's my next ticket to
and if you buy if you buy the scarf as well, yeah.
Oh my
you don't have to come to the type walk.
Okay, I just glanced over at the chat, and pretty much everybody is begging for this gate. So it's got to happen, Muk.
I will make a gate.
Okay, Stephen calls here. We got we got two more questions, and then there's some other things that don't seem to be questions. So here's the last two questions, and then we can let you go. Stephen calls, asks, it's cool that you made Ciudadela available through Future Fonts. How has this experience been? And what do you think about this method of releasing fonts before they are finished?
I think it's great. I mean, I joined Future Fonts a couple of years ago when I released Almira, which is not yet finished. And I'm also releasing Ciudadela, which is much smaller. So and also I will be releasing Arrabal in Future Fonts. They say yes, and they want the typeface over there. So I'm happy. I think like publishing before you have the font perfect, is that a thing? Having something I don't know, but when you have it ready for shipping, let's say, or when you have it ready, for me it's really interesting. First, you kind of connect with the people that buy the typeface. They can ask you things about how they are using it or where they want to use them, and they connect with you. So that's really nice. And also it helps the designer, because it informs you if something's on track or not, or if something works or doesn't work. So you can actually start, changing things a little bit if you want to, or even reducing the family, or even expanding it. I don't know. You can have time to plan. Of course, you have a plan before releasing, but you can change the plan. And for me, that's something, as a person that really struggles with anxiety, for me, that's super nice.
Well, it's like you have a whole built-in group of beta testers doing that work for you, right?
Yes. Yeah, and also they test and they test for bugs and they report to you and they tell you, and I don't know. I think it's really nice, and I think a lot of other type foundries are doing this of releasing before the typeface is finished, and I think it's a really nice model. Yeah.
Awesome. So people, I see that the link has been dropped in the chat for Muk's typefaces on future fonts. So head on over there in just a few minutes. All right, last question. Gaston Yagmurian asked, oh,
I know him.
okay.
He came to the type walk. He came to the type walk.
He says, hola Muk, what part of the type design process do you like the most and which one do you hate the most?
Well, what I love most about type design, part of the process, I think like it's really interesting when you are doing something or you see something and you want to turn it into a typeface. You know what I mean? Like maybe you're drawing or you did something or you're what, I don't know, something hits you and you're like, okay, I will make this into a typeface, which is also like a really exceptional event, because we, as people that are always looking at letters and drawing letters, it's really interesting which ones of those sketches or ideas become a typeface, right? Because yeah, it would never end. So it's really interesting for me, like why some things end becoming a typeface and some things did not. So for me, the most interesting part is the beginning, you know, like when you are translating those things into the type world, because there's always a translation, you know, whenever you are sketching or whenever you see things, then you have to put it in other light, you know, the type light, and do stuff for it to work as a typeface. Okay, so for me, that's the most interesting part, because I have to test the logic and I have to test how the shapes relate to each other and how they work. And the part that I don't really enjoy, yeah, of course it's kerning. Yeah, sure. Of course it is kerning. And also, yeah, testing. Testing takes a lot of time, but I know I have to do it and I do it a lot, but yeah, I don't really, because whenever I test, I find stuff and I have to change and you change it, and then you're asking yourself, should I change the shape of the letter? Because yeah, you do that. Yeah. So for me, those are the things that I don't really enjoy, but I do really enjoy the first part. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I think that's it.
Okay. Cool.
I want to thank everybody for coming today, and thank you so much, Muk, for this amazing presentation. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias a vos.
Everybody, please show up for us on Thursday for Bethany Quall's talk about women in early metal type design.
Yeah.
And production. Okay, hola. Bueno, gracias, Muk. Gracias a todos y todas y todes.
De nada, gracias a vos.
Okay. Woo.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. I hope you had a nice time.
And Muk, you're going to have to look at the chat because you got a lot of cool comments in the chat.
Okay. I will look at the chat before I get out of here. Yeah.
We'll send you that link when we wrap up also, so you'll get
okay, you can send me the link of the chat.
Yeah.
Oh,
So after
great,
we hang up,
great.
it'll all be there for you. Awesome. Wow. I cannot wait to see. I would love to go on one of your walks. Ooh, Muk,
You can come.
tu tatuaje. I love your,
Oh yeah, I have a tattoo.
what is it?
It's a line. It's
It's
just
a line.
Yeah, because I love lines.
Wow. Well, that I think you chose the most painful spot on your body to put a line.
Really? No,
Yeah.
no. No, it
Under
didn't hurt.
oh, that seems so tender.
No, it goes. No, it doesn't. No, it didn't hurt.
No te creo.
No, de créeme de verdad, no. No, no.
Wow.
Maybe the tattoo artist was really good. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. How far does it go down? All to your leg? Does it go down your leg?
No. It's okay. No. No. I don't want to be naked in the tattoo parlor.
Okay, I guess we should stop chit-chatting about tatuajes here and let you go. So, mil gracias otra vez, Muk, and nos vemos.
Gracias. Chao.
Ojalá pronto. Okay, adiós.
Chao.